I found out my fiancé previously dated my sister and kept it secret for 2 years, but when his brother revealed everything with a love letter, I had to decide whether to forgive the lies or call off our wedding. I'm Mark, 29M, and I need advice about what happened with my fiancée Sarah, 28F, and my brother Derek, 26M. We were supposed to get married in 3 months, but everything fell apart last week. Sarah and I have been together for 2 years. She's smart, kind, and comes from a close family. We met through mutual friends at a barbecue and clicked immediately. Within 6 months, we moved in together. Last December, I proposed during a weekend trip to the mountains and she said yes. The problem involves Sarah's sister Emma, 25F. Emma works as a marketing manager at a tech company in downtown. She's always been successful, good grades, popular in school, great job, nice apartment. Sarah loves Emma but has always compared herself to her sister. When we first started dating, Sarah would mention how Emma got the promotion she wanted or how their parents always bragged about Emma's achievements. Sarah works as a teacher and makes decent money but not as much as Emma. Their parents never directly compared them, but Sarah noticed how they lit up when talking about Emma's career. Here's where things get complicated. Before I met Sarah, I dated Emma for about 8 months. This was 3 years ago. We met at a coffee shop near my old apartment. Emma was funny and ambitious. We went to restaurants, took weekend trips, and I even met her family during Christmas that year. But we broke up because Emma wanted to focus on her career and didn't want anything serious. The breakup was mutual and we stayed friendly. When Sarah showed me family photos after we'd been dating for 2 months, I recognized Emma immediately. Sarah pointed to her sister and talked about how proud she was of Emma's success. I didn't say anything. I thought about mentioning the connection, but Sarah seemed so happy talking about our relationship. She kept saying she finally found someone who chose her first. The situation got more complex at Sarah's family Thanksgiving dinner 8 months into our relationship. Emma was there with her new boyfriend. When Emma saw me, she looked surprised but didn't say anything. During dinner, Emma and I were polite but kept our distance. After everyone finished eating, Emma pulled me aside in the kitchen. Emma asked if I had told Sarah about our past. I said no and asked her to keep it quiet. Emma seemed confused but agreed. She said she didn't want to cause problems. Right then Sarah walked into the kitchen to get more coffee. She saw us talking privately and asked what we were discussing. I said Emma was just being friendly and asking about my job. Sarah looked suspicious but dropped it. For the next year, I kept the secret. Emma and I barely interacted at family events. When we did talk, it was basic small talk about work or weather. Sarah never brought up that kitchen conversation again, but sometimes she would watch Emma and me carefully during family gatherings. The secret might have stayed buried if not for my brother Derek. Derek and I haven't spoken in 2 years because of what happened at my birthday party. I had saved money for months to throw a party at a nice restaurant. I invited 15 friends and family members. 2 days before the party, Derek called me crying. He said he had been diagnosed with a rare blood disorder and needed to go to the hospital immediately. I canceled my party and rushed to the hospital with our parents. Derek was admitted for 3 days. Doctors ran tests and everyone was worried. On the 3rd day, Derek started laughing and said it was all fake. He had Googled symptoms and lied to the doctors. He said it was a prank because he thought my party was too fancy and wanted to teach me a lesson about being pretentious. I lost my deposit for the restaurant and had to apologize to all my friends. Our parents said Derek went too far, but they wouldn't take sides. They said brothers fight and we needed to work it out ourselves. I told Derek I never wanted to see him again. He moved back in with our parents and I blocked his number. Last Tuesday evening, Sarah and I were watching a movie on our couch. Someone knocked on our door around 9 o'clock. I looked through the peephole and saw Derek standing there. He looked nervous and kept looking over his shoulder. Sarah asked who it was and I said my brother. She knows we don't talk, but she doesn't know the full story about the birthday party incident. Derek knocked again and said he needed help. He claimed someone was following him and he needed a place to hide. Sarah heard him through the door and said we couldn't just leave him outside if he was in real danger. I didn't want to open the door, but Sarah kept insisting. She said we could call the police if necessary, but we had to make sure he was safe first. I opened the door and Derek immediately pushed past me into our living room. His whole attitude changed once he got inside. He pulled out a folded piece of paper from his jacket pocket and smiled. Sarah asked what was happening and Derek said he had something interesting to share with her. Derek unfolded the paper and started reading it out loud. It was a love letter Emma had written to me during our relationship. In the letter, Emma talked about our weekend trip to the lake and mentioned details about our relationship that only someone close would know. Derek read the entire letter, making sure to emphasize Emma's name several times. He also mentioned specific dates and places that matched up with things Sarah knew about Emma's life from that time period. Sarah's face went white. She looked at me and asked if it was true. Derek kept reading parts of the letter and laughing. I tried to grab the paper from him, but he pulled it away. Sarah asked again if I had dated her sister. I couldn't lie anymore, so I nodded. Derek finished reading the letter and headed toward the door. He said he thought Sarah deserved to know the truth about her fiancé. I followed him and pushed him out of our apartment. Derek kept laughing and said Sarah would thank him later. I slammed the door and locked it. When I turned around, Sarah was standing in the hallway staring at me. She asked how long I had been lying to her. I tried to explain, but she walked into our bedroom and locked the door. I could hear her crying through the door. I knocked and tried to talk to her, but she wouldn't answer. Sarah didn't come out of the bedroom for the rest of the night. The next morning she went to work without saying anything to me. When she came home that evening, she went straight to the bedroom again. This pattern continued for 3 days. She would only come out to use the bathroom or get food from the kitchen. Every time I tried to talk to her, she would walk away. On Friday night, I sat outside the bedroom door and told her everything. I explained about meeting Emma first, about recognizing her in the family photos, about the conversation in the kitchen at Thanksgiving. I told her I kept the secret because I knew how much she struggled with comparing herself to Emma. I said I was trying to protect her from getting hurt. After I finished talking, Sarah opened the door. Her eyes were red and swollen. She sat on the bed and I sat on the floor. She said she needed time to think about everything. She said she still loved me but didn't know if she could trust me anymore. She asked me to sleep on the couch and give her space. I've been sleeping on the couch for 4 days now. Sarah talks to me about basic things like groceries or bills, but we haven't discussed our relationship or the wedding. Her sister Emma called yesterday and left a voicemail asking what was going on because Sarah hadn't returned her calls. I haven't called Emma back. I don't know how Derek got that letter. Emma and I exchanged a few letters when we were dating, but I thought I had thrown them all away when we broke up. Derek must have gone through my old stuff when I moved out of my parents' house. The timing of his visit seems too convenient to be random. Our wedding is in 3 months and we have deposits on everything. Sarah's parents have been asking about final head counts and menu choices. I don't know what to tell them. Sarah won't discuss any wedding plans and gets upset if I bring up the future. I understand why Sarah feels betrayed. I should have told her about Emma from the beginning. But I also think my reasons for keeping the secret were understandable. Sarah has always been insecure about Emma and I didn't want to make that worse. Now the secret has come out in the worst possible way and I don't know how to fix it. Derek got exactly what he wanted. He destroyed my relationship and caused maximum chaos. I still don't understand why he hates me enough to do something this cruel. The fake illness prank was bad enough, but this feels worse because it involves Sarah and her family. I need advice on how to handle this situation. Should I keep giving Sarah space or should I push harder to talk about our future? Should I contact Emma and ask her to help explain things to Sarah? Should I try to make Derek face consequences for what he did? I feel completely lost and don't know what to do next. Update 1: Sarah and I had a long conversation 6 days after my original post. She came home from work and said she was ready to talk. We sat at our kitchen table and she said she had decided to forgive me. She understood why I kept the secret even though she didn't agree with my choice. Sarah explained that after the initial shock wore off, she realized the bigger problem was her own relationship with Emma. She had been competing with her sister since childhood and it wasn't healthy. Sarah said their Aunt Linda used to visit every summer and would constantly compare the two girls. Linda would comment on Emma's grades, her appearance, her achievements. Sarah said she internalized those comparisons and carried them into adulthood. Sarah said she didn't want to break up over something that happened before we even met. She loved me and wanted to make our relationship work. We hugged and both of us cried. She moved back into our bedroom that night and we started planning our wedding again. 2 days later, Sarah made a decision about Emma. She said she didn't want Emma at our wedding. Sarah called her parents and explained the situation without going into all the details. She just said she needed some distance from Emma and didn't want her at the wedding. Sarah's parents were supportive and said they understood. They didn't push for details or try to change her mind. Seeing how Sarah's parents handled the situation made me think about my own family. Sarah's parents respected her decision and supported her without asking a lot of questions. My parents have never done that. They always stay out of conflicts and refuse to take sides even when someone is clearly wrong. I decided to call my parents and give them an ultimatum. I told them Derek had crossed a line by interfering in my relationship. I said they needed to stop being neutral and start holding Derek accountable for his actions. Either Derek moved out of their house and faced consequences for what he did, or I would cut contact with all of them. My dad said I was being dramatic and that siblings fight sometimes. He said Derek was just trying to help by telling me the truth. My mom said Derek was sorry and that family should stick together. Neither of them acknowledged that Derek had done anything wrong. I told them I was serious about cutting contact. My mom started crying and my dad got angry. He said I was splitting up the family over nothing. I hung up and blocked their numbers. Sarah supported my decision. She said Derek had intentionally hurt us and my parents were enabling his behavior by making excuses. Sarah said healthy families don't work that way, and she was right. The weird part is how Derek got Emma's letter. I called my old landlord and asked if anyone had picked up mail or packages after I moved out 2 years ago. The landlord said my parents had come by with a key and collected some items I had left behind. They must have gone through everything and found the letter. This means Derek's visit wasn't random. He planned the whole thing. He knew about Emma and me before he showed up at our door. The story about being followed was completely fake. He probably waited outside our apartment until he saw us through the window so he would know we were home. My parents must have told Derek about Emma being Sarah's sister. I never told them Emma's last name, but they met her at Christmas 3 years ago. When I started dating Sarah and mentioned her family name, my parents probably connected the dots. Instead of talking to me about it, they gossiped with Derek and gave him ammunition to hurt me. I haven't heard from any of them since I blocked their numbers. Sarah asked if I missed them and I said no. Derek has been causing problems my whole life and my parents have never stopped him. The birthday party incident should have been the final straw, but they acted like it was no big deal. Now they've helped him interfere in my relationship and they still think I'm the problem. Emma called me yesterday. She said Sarah had told her about the wedding situation and she wanted to apologize. Emma said she should have insisted we tell Sarah the truth at Thanksgiving instead of going along with keeping it secret. She understood why Sarah needed space and said she hoped we could all get past this eventually. Emma also mentioned that she and her boyfriend had broken up last month. She didn't give details but said it was mutual. I didn't ask any follow-up questions because I didn't want to make things more complicated. Sarah and Emma haven't talked since this all came out. Sarah said she needs more time before she's ready to have a relationship with her sister again. Emma respects that and isn't pushing. Sarah's parents are handling communication between the sisters for now. Our wedding is in 10 weeks. We've confirmed all our vendors and sent out final invitations. Sarah seems excited about the wedding planning again. We went cake tasting last weekend and picked flowers yesterday. Things feel almost normal between us except for the family situation. I do think about my parents and Derek sometimes. Not in a sad way, but more wondering what they're doing and if they've realized how badly they messed up. My dad's birthday is next month and for the first time in my life I won't be calling him. My mom's been sending cards and gifts for holidays since I was a kid, but she won't be invited to my wedding. Sarah says I made the right choice. She says her family drama with Emma was nothing compared to the dysfunction in my family. She's probably right. Derek's behavior has gotten worse over the years and my parents have enabled all of it by refusing to set boundaries. The engagement ring drama was just the latest example. Derek has been pulling stunts like this since we were kids. When we were teenagers, he told everyone at school that I had failed a test when I actually got an A. He spread rumors about girls I liked and tried to sabotage my friendships. My parents always said boys will be boys and that I needed to toughen up. I'm done making excuses for them. Sarah and I are building our own family now and we don't need that kind of toxicity in our lives. Update 2: My parents showed up at our apartment 3 days ago. Sarah and I were eating dinner when someone started pounding on our door. I looked through the peephole and saw my dad standing there. My mom was behind him looking nervous. I didn't open the door but my dad started yelling through it. He said I was being childish and needed to apologize to the family. He said Derek was depressed because I had cut him off and that I was destroying our family over a stupid disagreement. My mom was crying and asking me to please just talk to them. Sarah came to the door and told them to leave or she would call the police. My dad got louder and said Sarah was turning me against my own family. He said she was manipulating me and that I had never acted this way before I met her. Sarah pulled out her phone and started dialing 911. My dad finally stopped yelling but he didn't leave. He said they would wait outside until I came to my senses. I told him through the door that I had nothing to say to them and they needed to go home. My mom kept crying and asking why I was being so cruel. After about 20 minutes, they finally left. Sarah and I finished our dinner but the whole evening was ruined. Sarah said she couldn't believe how my dad had acted. She said her parents would never show up uninvited and start screaming at her through a door. The next morning, my mom called Sarah's work number. Sarah's principal had to interrupt her class to tell her she had an emergency call. My mom told Sarah that I was making a mistake and asked Sarah to convince me to talk to the family. Sarah said it wasn't her place to get involved and hung up. That same day, Derek texted me from someone else's phone. The message said he was sorry for causing problems and just wanted his brother back. He said our parents were worried about me and that I was hurting everyone by staying angry. I didn't respond and blocked that number too. Yesterday I found out how deep this goes. My cousin Jake called me. Jake is my dad's nephew and we've always gotten along well. Jake said my parents had been calling their whole side of the family asking for help getting through to me. They told everyone that Sarah was controlling me and that I had turned against my family for no reason. Jake said most of the family didn't believe their version of events because they know Derek's history. But a few relatives had called Jake asking what was really going on. Jake wanted to hear my side before anyone else got involved. I told Jake the whole story. About Derek's fake illness prank, about him showing up at our apartment with Emma's letter, about my parents enabling Derek's behavior for years. Jake said he wasn't surprised. He remembered Derek pulling similar stunts at family gatherings when we were kids. Jake said Derek had been telling people that I was engaged to his ex-girlfriend and that's why we weren't talking. Derek completely twisted the story to make himself look like the victim. According to Derek's version, I had stolen Emma from him and was now trying to keep him away from family events because I felt guilty. This was completely false. Derek never dated Emma. Emma and I were together before I ever met Sarah. Derek had nothing to do with any of it except for showing up with that letter to cause trouble. But Derek was spreading this fake story to anyone who would listen. Jake said he would set the record straight with other family members. He also said my dad had been calling him asking for my new address because I had supposedly moved apartments to hide from the family. Jake told my dad he didn't have my address even though he does. The situation is getting worse instead of better. My parents aren't accepting that I meant what I said about cutting contact. They're involving other people and spreading their version of events to make me look bad. Derek is using the situation to play victim and get sympathy from relatives. Sarah and I decided to take action. We contacted a lawyer yesterday about getting a restraining order against Derek. The lawyer said showing up with that letter and the fake emergency story could qualify as harassment. We're also documenting everything in case my parents keep showing up at our apartment. Sarah's parents offered to help pay for the lawyer fees. They said no one should have to deal with this kind of family drama right before their wedding. Sarah's dad said if my parents show up again, he'll come over and make sure they leave us alone. Our wedding is in 6 weeks. We've had to change some plans because of this situation. We moved the ceremony to a different venue and didn't give my parents or Derek the new address. We also hired extra security because we're worried they might try to crash the wedding. Emma reached out to Sarah last week. Emma said she heard about what was happening with my family and wanted Sarah to know she was sorry for her part in keeping the secret. Sarah agreed to meet Emma for coffee and they talked for 2 hours. Sarah came home and said the conversation went well. Emma explained that she had agreed to keep quiet because she thought it would be less complicated for everyone. Emma said she should have realized that secrets like that always come out eventually and usually in the worst way possible. Sarah and Emma aren't back to being close but they're talking again. Emma won't be at our wedding because Sarah still needs more time, but they're texting occasionally and Sarah said she might invite Emma to dinner sometime next month. The whole situation has shown me how different Sarah's family is from mine. When Sarah had a problem with Emma, her parents respected her decision and didn't interfere. When Emma wanted to apologize, she did it directly instead of involving other people. No one in Sarah's family has tried to manipulate or guilt-trip anyone else. My family's approach is the opposite. Instead of accepting that Derek did something wrong, they're doubling down and trying to pressure me into forgetting about it. Instead of giving me space, they're showing up at my home and calling my fiancé at work. Instead of taking responsibility, they're involving extended family and spreading false stories. I don't miss the drama. Sarah and I have been happy for the past month except when my family interferes. We're excited about our wedding and our future together. We don't need people in our lives who cause this much chaos and stress. The lawyer thinks we have a good case for the restraining order. Derek's behavior fits the pattern of harassment and our documentation is solid. We should hear back about the court date within the next 2 weeks. Update 3: Our wedding happened 2 weeks ago and it was perfect. Sarah looked beautiful and everything went exactly as planned. We had 60 guests and the weather was great. Sarah's parents walked her down the aisle and her whole family was supportive and happy for us. My family did not show up. We had hired security just in case but they weren't needed. I thought I might feel sad about my parents missing my wedding but I didn't. The day was about Sarah and me starting our life together, not about people who had chosen to cause problems instead of celebrating with us. 3 days before the wedding, we got the restraining order against Derek. The judge agreed that his behavior constituted harassment and that showing up at our apartment with false emergencies was unacceptable. Derek has to stay at least 500 feet away from us and can't contact us through any method including social media or third parties. Derek violated the order the day after our wedding. He showed up at Sarah's school and tried to talk to her during her lunch break. Sarah called the police immediately and Derek was arrested. He spent 2 nights in jail before being released. The violation means he could face additional charges if he contacts us again. My parents called Sarah's parents after Derek's arrest. My mom cried and said Derek was just trying to apologize and didn't understand the legal situation. Sarah's dad told my parents that Derek had made his own choices and needed to face the consequences. He said if they kept enabling Derek's behavior, they were part of the problem. My dad got angry and said Sarah's family didn't understand how complicated family relationships could be. Sarah's dad said there was nothing complicated about respecting boundaries and following court orders. The conversation ended badly and my parents haven't called back. Emma came to our wedding reception. Sarah decided at the last minute that she wanted her sister there. Emma brought a date and kept a low profile during the event. She and Sarah talked briefly and hugged before Emma left early. Sarah said it felt good to have Emma there, but she still needs time before they can be close again. Sarah's Aunt Linda was not invited to the wedding. Sarah said she had realized that Linda's constant comparisons had caused a lot of the problems between her and Emma. Sarah doesn't want that kind of negativity in her life anymore. Linda sent a card asking why she wasn't invited, but Sarah didn't respond. We got back from our honeymoon yesterday. We went to Hawaii for a week and it was amazing. We didn't think about family drama or wedding stress. We just enjoyed being married and spending time together. Sarah said it was the best week of her life. When we got home, we had 15 missed calls from my cousin Jake. Jake said Derek had been telling people that I had him arrested on false charges and that the restraining order was based on lies. Derek claimed he had only gone to Sarah's school to deliver a wedding gift and didn't know he wasn't supposed to be there. Jake said most of the family wasn't buying Derek's story because they knew about his past behavior. But Derek had convinced a few relatives that I was being vindictive and trying to destroy his life. Jake wanted me to know so I could decide if I wanted to set the record straight. I told Jake I didn't care what Derek told people. Anyone who knows Derek's history can see the pattern. Anyone who doesn't know the full story can believe whatever they want. I'm not going to spend my time defending myself against someone who has been causing problems for years. Jake understood. He said he would continue correcting false information when he heard it, but that I shouldn't worry about extended family who might believe Derek's version. Jake said the people who matter know the truth. My parents sent a wedding card to our old address. It got forwarded to our new apartment. The card had a generic message about wishing us happiness. They signed it, but didn't include any personal note or acknowledgement of what had happened. Sarah threw the card away without reading it. We've decided to move to a different city next year. Sarah got offered a position at a better school district about 2 hours away. The pay is higher and will be far enough from both our families to have more privacy. Sarah's parents are sad about us moving, but they understand and support her career opportunity. The move will also make it harder for my family to show up unannounced. Derek won't be able to easily find our new address and my parents won't be able to drive over whenever they feel like it. We'll have a fresh start in a place where no one knows our family history. Sarah and I have talked about having kids in a few years. We both agree that we don't want our children exposed to the kind of dysfunction that exists in my family. Derek's behavior is unpredictable and my parents have proven they won't protect us from his actions. Our kids deserve better than that. Emma and Sarah are slowly rebuilding their relationship. They have lunch once a month and text occasionally. Sarah says she's learning to separate her own insecurities from her actual relationship with Emma. It's not perfect, but it's progress. Emma asked Sarah if she thought I would ever reconcile with my family. Sarah said that was my decision to make, but that she supported whatever I chose. Emma said she hoped things would work out eventually but understood why I needed distance right now. I don't see reconciliation happening anytime soon. Derek would need to acknowledge what he did wrong and make genuine changes to his behavior. My parents would need to stop enabling him and start setting boundaries. None of that seems likely based on their recent actions. The restraining order is in place for 2 years. If Derek stays away from us and doesn't cause any more problems, we might consider not renewing it. But if he continues trying to contact us or involves other people in harassing us, we'll extend the order and pursue additional legal action. Sarah and I are happy with our decision to remove toxic people from our lives. Our relationship is stronger than ever and we're excited about our future together. We have Sarah's family for support and we're building our own traditions and memories. Sometimes people ask if I regret cutting off my parents and brother. I don't. They had multiple chances to handle the situation differently and they chose to make it worse instead of better. Derek's behavior was bad enough, but my parents' response showed me they would never prioritize my well-being over keeping peace with Derek. Sarah says I'm a different person now than when we first started dating. She says I'm more confident and less anxious about family events and holidays. She's right. I used to worry constantly about what Derek might do or say. Now I don't have to think about it anymore. We're planning a quiet first anniversary celebration next year. Just the two of us, maybe a weekend trip somewhere nice. No family drama, no complicated relationships to navigate. Just us celebrating the life we've built together.